what's up, guys? How we doing? So we're back. This episode, yes, the long-awaited, the decision, much like LeBron when he made that horrible, remember the decision, guys, when LeBron decided what team he was going to, and he said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Well, the Ken Roczen thing has gone almost as bad. It went from this really fun off-season story to, I think it's more of a cautionary tale at this point. But before we get into that, EBC Brakes. Let them know you appreciate them. They make some great brake pads, rotors, clutches, you name it. They support this podcast. James, Steve, everybody over there, they're just good people, so let them know. If you want to get into shape, hit up CompleteRacingSolutions.com. Coach Rob, he's the man. He uses a scientific method to completely dial you in, whether you're a vet rider, weekend warrior, whatever you need, Coach Rob, he'll dial you in. And if you want to hear his programs, I did an interview with him. If you're thinking about doing one of his programs, watch that interview and see if it's going to be for you. And don't forget, guys, we're giving away Epic Tracks. Epic Tracks, we gave away a set in November. We're giving another set away in December. All you have to do is go to the Epic Garage Designs YouTube studio. When you get there, go to the video where I throw a bunch of nuts and bolts on the Epic Tracks. So it shows you how easy it is to pick them up, because people are like, oh, do bolts go in? No, they don't. They go inside of it. It's easy to pick up. Just comment on that video. Your comment is your entry in for December. That's it. We pick one at random, and we're giving away Epic Tracks. If you want to upgrade it and put it towards a garage, slat wall, or anything else that Epic Garage Design sells, hey, let us know. We'll do that for you. And without further ado, let's get into this gigantic blunder by Ken Roczen and his crew.
I'm in the empire business.
Everybody love everybody!
You all know exactly who I am.
Okay, so a lot of times when someone gets famous, they get a bunch of people around them. These people around them are clinger-oners. They're yes men. They're suckling at the teat of money and fame and power, and they start to feel like they're important. And I think that's what Ken has around him right now. I think he's got a lot of people that don't give him the right information. Just by looking at the way his agent acted about the drug test, not knowing the FIM rule, like that doesn't seem like a person that I need in my corner. That's not a person who's going to tell it to me straight. That's somebody who is looking out for their own interests, not mine. And I think that that's important to look at when you look at where this decision has gone and how it got there. And how it got there was Honda. So Ken's been with Honda. He's been the highest paid rider for the last 5 years. I mean, his contracts have been huge. And when you're the top paid rider, you're expected to win. Ken has not won. He has not won a championship. He's won races, but they didn't pay him. They paid him to win championships. Unfortunately, he had that horrific injury, but he's a great story. And I would say Honda got their bang for their buck because he is such a marketable athlete, but they wanted a championship really, really bad. Ken never delivered. So essentially they're saying, listen, we paid you all this money. We gave you more time off than anyone ever. How many of you guys could go to your boss and say, hey, I need 3 months off because I don't feel good? And they would just say, okay, get healthy, come back when you're good. Multiple times. That happened with Ken Roczen multiple times. It's frustrating for them in the sense of they still paid the money. And like I said, they got a pretty good return on their investment, in my opinion, just because of who he is. But if you ask them, they'd probably say, no, we didn't get our championship. It was a bust. They were actually going to continue this relationship, but Honda, for whatever reason, and this is ridiculous, and I'm really pissed at Honda for this, they have decided to boycott the World Supercross Series and actually go as far as to not let their riders compete in this off-season, and it's not an off-season race, in a different series, because they're all in on the American Series. American Honda pays Ken to race in the American Series, which they're now calling the World Series, which is really weird, but that's how confusing this whole thing gets. Ken decided that that was a slight, and even though Honda's been more than good to him after years and years and years, he decided it was important to stand by his word that he had committed to World Supercross and ride for them. In a sense, there goes his Honda offer for 2023. Also, Ken wasn't happy with the bike. He needed to do some stuff. They didn't agree. Obviously, he proved that if you do that to the bike, which he did in the Firepower Honda, it would have worked. So that's how this whole mess, that's how he ended up a free agent, is just neither side. I mean, a couple of spoiled brats just arguing. But I mean, I see Ken's side, and I think it's ridiculous that Honda wouldn't let him race. But I also see Ken being a guy who didn't deliver and was paid handsomely, not taking one for the team and saying, okay, well, if you guys don't want that, then we're good. I see both sides. I 100% do. I actually side with Ken because I think it's kind of noble that he stood up for the World Supercross Series, because in the long run, that will make for better competition. I mean, look at the money they've already put into the USA Series to compete and make sure that, so competition raises the level. What's that? A rising tide floats all boats. So when it comes to competition, that helps. So let's get to Ken. Now he's testing the Yamaha. He's riding the Kawasaki. He's riding the Suzuki. He's riding all these different bikes. He's killing it. He's getting all these impressions. I mean, he's owned the offseason. Ken Roczen is by far, like Red Bull and his sponsors have gotten more publicity out of Ken Roczen this offseason than they probably have the last 3 regular seasons combined. It's been extremely good for all his sponsorships and everybody around him. But why is he going to the Suzuki? This Suzuki has proven that it's not going to win. Yes, and I don't want to hear, he won on it. He won on it a long time ago. This is the same bike, essentially. Yes, they updated the frame, blah, 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 in 2018. This bike has kickstart. How many of you guys have bikes in your garage that have kickstart? Think about that. Your bike, anything that you have in your garage, is more technologically advanced than the Suzuki's. Suzuki, for whatever reason, has stopped developing bikes. I don't know why. They are helping Dustin Pipes, the HEP team. Chris Wheeler is a magic man, making things happen and finding budget for these teams and keeping racing going. I mean, he's the all-star of this whole thing. But this is not going to go well for Ken Roczen. This is much like when Johnny O'Mara went to Suzuki, when Suzukis were turds. That was the last of Johnny O'Mara. Johnny O'Mara was a Supercross champion, was just ousted from Honda just so they didn't have room for him. I wouldn't say he was fired, but I mean, when you got David Bailey and Rick Johnson eating up budget, there's not a lot of, and Mickey Diamond winning 125 titles, there's not a lot of room for Johnny O'Mara. So he went to Suzuki. Suzuki essentially ended his career. Everyone will say, well, Ricky went there. Ricky went under different circumstances. Ricky went when their bike was pretty competitive to begin with, and he went with Roger DeCoster, where they had almost an unlimited budget, and they got to do whatever they wanted to make it competitive. And they had just introduced their new 4-stroke when Ricky was there. There's a lot of differences. Ken's going to a bike that hasn't been updated since 2018. We're heading into 2023. For those of you who can count, that's 5 years. Bikes go a long ways in 5 years. So if he thinks he's going to win, I think he's crazy. I think his agent's a moron. His agent should have shut his mouth about his supplements that he takes in the offseason, and his agent should have steered him to a bike that can win a championship. What he has done by putting him on the Suzuki is his agent has collected his commission on the guaranteed money, because I know he's getting over 7 figures to ride the Suzuki. It's silly. Yes, money is nothing to scoff at, and as someone who would love $1 million, to tell him, I think there's more opportunity if he were to ride the Yamaha. And if he wins a Supercross championship at this point in his career, the value in that will way outweigh whatever he could get paid by Suzuki long into his post-career. And his agent just looked at it short-sighted. And that's when you have people around you who don't get it. They won't tell you no. They're yes men. Like, really? So maybe I'm wrong. And a lot of you guys are going to say, you don't know what you're talking about. He rode the bikes. He felt the bikes. He must feel. Okay. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not. But I hope I am. I would love nothing more, guys, than to do a video saying what a moron I was and that Ken Roczen is a genius. And if he wins the Supercross championship, I don't know. We'll think of something. I'll do something silly just to make fun of myself because, let's be real. I don't think it's not too serious what I'm doing here. I just talk on the internet on a YouTube show. Big deal. But yeah, he shouldn't have done this move. I'm disappointed. He's much like a UFC champion who just went and signed with some small organization to get their belt. He'll never be, it's just sad. So I wish he hadn't done it. I'm disappointed for all the hoopla. I was excited to maybe see him on a Kawasaki, with Pro Circuit. I was excited to see him on a Yamaha. I was excited to see him on the Firepower Honda. I thought the Suzuki thing was more of a publicity stunt. I heard, and I even got word from somebody inside the HEP team that it was basically a done deal 2 weeks ago. I didn't run with it because I did that when somebody from Club MX hit me up, and it looked like a done deal. I know it wasn't, but it looked really close to being done. So I'm like, okay, I'm waiting until Ken announces it, because Ken is the only one, and that's why I thought he was fickle. Which brings me back to my buddy Travis from Epic Garage Designs, who's told me Ken's been playing everybody this whole time, and he thinks Ken's been ready on the Suzuki. Travis, I think you're wrong. But either way, Ken Roczen has now gone from a title contender to a top 5 guy. So that's it. That's bottom line. As much as I like all those guys at Suzuki, their bike's just too far behind.